of course, central to that idea of emotional lacking and the emotional void produced by consumer culture is the idea of alienation. So let's take a quick trip back to week 2 and revisit that. So we know from previous weeks that mass production alienates both producers and consumers. And in an increasingly individualistic society, the result of this alienation is increasingly weakened ties and civic participation. Now, the irony is, from a Marxist perspective, if we go back and think about Marxist approaches to consumer culture, mass production causes alienation and simultaneously offers us the solution to alienation. So mass production, the rise of mass society, popular culture, weakens social ties, reduces levels of civic participation, but popular culture also offers us a way of solving that problem by fulfilling the void, the emptiness, the lack that is created by encouraging us to buy stuff. Modern capitalism has produced extremes in terms of inequality. So we now have large sections of the population who are not only unemployed, unable to find work, but are also underemployed as well. So, like, there are large numbers of unskilled workers earning low wages in increasingly casualized, part-time, short-term employment conditions. That's referred to as precarious labor. So jobs, not only is job security significantly reduced, but the number of hours which you work, and of course the more you work, the more money you earn, is also significantly reduced. So on one side, we have increasingly large sections of the population, both unemployed and underemployed. Now, if you're fortunate enough to be on the other end of the extreme and have full-time, well-paid employment, and we're talking largely here white-collar industries, information workers in many respects, service industry and information workers, the opposite problem is the case. So people on the kind of haves on that side of the economic divide find themselves increasingly overworked, under pressure, and constantly enslaved to this cult of busy. So busy has become a term within everyday language that we use, or almost without thinking. It's something that we say when people ask us, "How are you?" We'll quite often say, almost as a default response, "Oh, I'm really busy." And it's that use of the word busy there, I think, serves as kind of code for, "Oh, I'm very important. I'm very important. I'm busy. I've got a lot of things to do, so I must be important." So on one side, you've got large sections of the population who are underworked, whose skills are underutilized. And on the other side of the line, you've got the economically advantaged, who find themselves increasingly overworked and under pressure to perform in highly managed industries where performance is constantly scrutinized. In public discourse, this widening gap between the rich and the poor is often played out in very aggressive ways as social disadvantage becomes increasingly criminalized. So we saw in the previous module when we were talking about consumer culture and space, we saw how the shopping mall for homeless people offered kind of physical sanctuary, or shop fronts for homeless people kind of offered physical sanctuary from the weather and the cold, yet authorities moved those people on, tried to get them out of these zones of consumption. And we also spoke earlier in the unit how things like mental illness, unemployment, poverty are increasingly positioned as individual problems. So if under neoliberalism, the free market is the logical way of solving all of society's problems, those who are unable to participate in the free market become increasingly criminalized. Now, that in many respects produces a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if consumer choice is one of the central pillars of neoliberalism and you cannot afford to express your choice, then what do you do? And the next couple of videos demonstrate what people do who are shut out of consumer society very dramatically.